Hello, boys and girls. I hope you guys are having a great night. Are you ready for our story time? Well, we are going to be reading from our book, Classic Fairy Tales. So let's see which classic fairy tale we have first. We have Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Once upon a time, there were three bears who lived together. One of them was little, one was small, and one was a wee bear. And then there was a great, big, huge bear and his wife. They each had a bowl for their porridge, a little bowl for the little, and a medium-sized bowl for the medium-sized bear, and then a great big bowl for the great big Papa Bear. And they each had a chair to sit in, a little chair for the little bear, a medium one for the medium bear, and a great big chair for the Papa Bear. And they each had a bed to sleep in. Well, one day, after they made their porridge for their breakfast and poured it into their bowls, they walked out into the wood so that their porridge could cool down for breakfast. In a village just beyond the forest, there lived a little girl who loved to run through the long grass picking wildflowers. Her hair fell in golden locks above her shoulders. So you know what everyone called her? Do you know what they called her? Goldilocks. That's right, you see her there? She's getting ready to travel to the house. Let's see what happens. That morning, however, Goldilocks wandered too far. And before she realized it, she found herself deep in the shadowy wood. Soon she came to the Three Bears' cottage. She was so glad to find a house in the middle of the forest. She ran and peeked through the window, but she saw no one was home. And so she went to the door and she tried to open it. Now, the three bears were by themselves and were very polite creatures, but they never, ever thought that anyone would enter their house without knocking and without an invitation. So they always left their door unlocked. But Goldilocks, who was sometimes furious and curious, she forgot her manners. She opened the door and invited herself in. The moment she smelled the porridge, the breakfast, Goldilocks remembered how hungry exploring in the forest made her. And so she thought maybe she had been invited for breakfast, for they were good bears and they were hospitable. But instead of waiting, she decided to go ahead and taste it. She first of all tasted the porridge of the great big bear. Oh, but it was too hot for her. And then she tasted the porridge of the medium-sized bear. Oh, that was too cold. And then she went to the porridge for the little small wee bear. And it tasted just right. It wasn't too hot and it wasn't too cold. It was just right. She ate it all up. Then Goldilocks sat down in the great big huge chair. But it was too big and it was too hard. Then she sat down in the chair of the medium-sized bear, but that was too soft for her. And then she sat down in the little wee chair, and guess what? Right, that was a right size for her, and it was so comfy for her to sit in. So she seated herself, and that poor little chair came broken into pieces. Plop! She fell on the ground. Then Goldilocks went upstairs to the bedroom where the three bears slept. She laid down in the great big huge bear first. But the great huge bear's bed, it was too big. Then she lay in the next size, the medium-sized bear. But it was too high up and it was still too big for her. And then she lay down in the bed of the little small wee bear. And guess what? It was just the right height and it was just the right comfort for her. So she covered herself up and fell asleep. But by this time, the three bears returned home and they realized their porridge would be cool and ready to eat. But looking in this bowl, the great big huge bear said, "Somebody has been tasting my porridge." Then the medium-sized bear, in her medium-sized voice, said, "Somebody has been tasting my porridge." And the little small wee bear cried, "Oh, somebody has been tasting my huge bear looked at his chair. "Somebody has been sitting in my chair." And the medium-sized bear says, "Ooh, somebody has been sitting in my chair too." And the poor little wee bear cried, "Oh, somebody's been sitting in my chair. Look, it's all broken to pieces." The three bears decided to take a hunt upstairs and see what was going on. Goldilocks had pulled the pillow of the great big huge bear out of its place. "Somebody's been lying in my bed," said the great big bear. And Goldilocks had pulled the pillow of the medium-sized bear. "Oh, somebody's been lying in my bed too," said the medium-sized bear. And when the little small wee bear came to look in his bed, he found someone laying in the bed. "Someone has been laying in my bed. Look, there she is." Pointing to Goldilocks, the three bears came and looked at her. Goldilocks had heard in her sleep the great big rough sound of the great big bear, and it woke her up. When she saw the three bears on the one side, she tumbled out the other and ran to the window. The window was open because the three bears, being tidy bears, always open their bedroom door in the window in the mornings. What happened to her afterward, I cannot tell, for she ran off. But the three bears never saw her again. So that's our story for today, the story of Goldilocks and the three little bears. What are some story lessons that we can learn from this, boys and girls? Well, one of the lessons is don't touch things that don't belong to you. If it's not your porridge, don't eat it. If it's not your bed, don't sleep in it. But we had a great story about the three bears who did respond right and didn't get mad at little Goldilocks. All right, tune in tomorrow for our story at 7 p.m. Thank you, and you sleep well.